Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about Kodashi Linux. And what we want to look at here as we discuss Kodashi is, this came up in the news on Friday, and somebody asked about Kodashi Linux in light of basically, I think what happened is a new version dropped, and of course that causes a little bit of buzz anytime a new version comes out. And I have some tutorials that people have been watching more frequently on cubes. I have a bunch on Tails. I haven't, I'm not sure exactly when the last time I updated Tails, but I don't recall a ton has changed since I've done it last. But who knows, maybe it's about time to renew our Tails. But somebody asked, is Kodashi Linux better, as the developer behind it basically pushes it that way, saying, oh, this is so much better than Tails. We've taken so many things. And a lot of the idea behind this starts on that one basic premise. That one basic premise says everything's better with a VPN. And that's simply not the case. I'm not a huge advocate of using a VPN under any and every circumstance. There are certain places for it. You need a VPN if you need to break out of a geofence. You need a VPN if you're connecting to a public Wi-Fi. You need a VPN if you are deeply concerned about what your ISP is doing, but then you have to have core trust in that VPN, because what the VPN allows is whoever administers that VPN to know everything that you're doing. So really it raises these concerns. And then, does a VPN really make you private or not? Well, that depends also on a number of different factors on the VPN. Do they keep logs? How many people are using it? There's a lot of these different factors that come into effect. Now, as I had mentioned on Friday, I don't remember if I've looked at it or not, but it turns out that I did. This is something I put out about 2 years ago. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head, but we did cover Kodashi Linux, and this actually did cover a lot of the things I was thinking about that were kind of problematic. We loaded the distro up, we looked at it, and yeah, I do remember now using this one because we were having issues with the VPNs getting connected up. And so indeed, I did talk about Kodashi Linux in the past. And of course, as you look right here, you'll see a number of different people. Here's DJ Ware doing a review of Kodashi Linux. Let's see how many views. Mine has about 7,000 views. His has a little over 7,000 views. See if anybody else is doing Kodashi here. I don't see any other ones. So there's not a ton of buzz about it. You do have, I have my cubes tutorials are right here. This is an updated one. I did one a while back. This is using the new Cubes 4. So if you are interested in cubes, you can have a look over there. Of course, Tech Republic is covering some things on Kodashi. It's the operating system for those who value privacy but don't want to learn Linux. And I think that the Tech Republic article is kind of buying into the idea here, oh, you don't need to know anything about Linux to use this. You just plug it in and there you have it. And is that really true or not? We'll talk more about that. Of course, Kodashi is based on Ubuntu. So Ubuntu with XFCE. And as many other people who know a lot more about the actual core development of what goes into a distro have looked at it and said, yeah, this is just Ubuntu. No defaults changed, just Ubuntu with a few packages installed and some bash scripts that have some questionable things in them that we will look at in a bit. And so you have to ask, is Ubuntu really a huge, when you think Ubuntu, do you think privacy distro? Probably not, in all honesty. But, you know, my early thought when I thought about this, now the brand new version just came out. I'm like, does it have snaps? Well, no, it's still based on 18, Ubuntu 18, even the brand new version. Because there are several of his scripts are written with Python 2, which now the new Ubuntu has Python 3, and so a bunch of scripts stopped working, and we'll get to it in a bit, but apparently the developers does not actually know much about bash scripting and programming. And it is one single developer basically modifying Ubuntu. So is that what it takes to make a really rock-solid, high-trust privacy distribution? that raises the question. Now, it does demonstrate there's a lot of things involved installed. We have KeyPass, we have VeraCrypt, we have ZuluCrypt, we have I2P, we have deny hosts. So there's a number of different things. Of course, it does pass things through the Tor network. And what they say, though, is this is better because we always run it through a VPN first. We'll kind of get into that. So here's as I started looking into it, and I did actually want to download it. The problem, there is only one download link available, and that is through SourceForge. So if you do not want to go to SourceForge to get it, you're kind of out of luck. SourceForge, which has uBlock Origin on this computer, is only showing 5 trackers. On my Raspberry Pi computer that I used to put together the script and do all my research, 27 different trackers were being blocked. So if I pull up uBlock Origin here, oh, sadly you can't see it. Let me switch to my full desktop view. And if I do that, you might be able to see it. Oh, really? You can't. Wait. You might. Yeah. There we go. We're going to go ahead and move over here. Hold on. Let me minimize that. I don't want you to see my notes right now. Come on. All right. So over here, you can see what is being blocked. We have Cloudflare. We have Consent Manager. We have FSDN. We have Google.com. You have YouTube scripts. I did see DoubleClick earlier, which is the YouTube ad systems. So 27 different trackers being blocked. Of course, we have some trackers being blocked by Privacy Badger as well. So there are indeed some questions and some concerns about what all is going on in the background of just SourceForge. Of course, one single place, there is a tracking as to who is actually over here. Whereas if we actually look at the Tails website, there's actually both Privacy Badger and uBlock are both happy. There's literally nothing. One domain, that is it. So there's a lot less chance of you being identified if you're downloading Tails, and there are other alternative download links from Tails, whereas SourceForge is the only place to get this. And I've always had issues downloading things off of SourceForge. And it didn't matter whether it was on my cellular internet or my friend's internet. It didn't matter where I went. It basically said it's going to take 8 hours to download this. I'm like, I don't have 8 hours to sit here and download Kodashi Linux. So that is where we have it. So the latest version here, you can see in the notes down here that this is the latest version. Its release date was just in October. You can see it's still based on Ubuntu 18.04.6 LTS, which, by the way, security, the security is up on this. This expires, 18.04 expires in April of 2023. Yes, it's already 2023. That would be 4 months from now is when this is out. Now, he is apparently looking to move it to Debian, according to his release notes here. And so that is certainly something to keep in mind, that it's not going to be based on Ubuntu forever, allegedly. And you can see there's only about 2,000 or so downloads of the distro itself. I did see evidence of a torrent site as well, although it looked very out of date and I was not actually able to load it. So who knows, maybe there are more places to use this. All right. Now, here's the actual website. It doesn't even have its own site. It's all just tied to Eagle Eye, which is a single person. And this is more of a hobby project, I think. Digi77.com is the website. And then you can find Kodashi Linux. And then it says uses the internet anonymously, connects all connections to the internet are forced to go through the VPN Tor network with DNS encryption, which, by the way, maybe not, because of the way he's managing the DNS. That might actually interfere with this model. We'll get more into that in a bit. Leaves no traces on the computer unless you explicitly ask it. That refers to the fact that it is designed to run as a live system, although you can install it. However, I will note the default installation does not encrypt the drive. Whereas if I am, like cubes, it forces it to be encrypted. Tails is not really designed to install on a hard drive. You can do it, but it's very, very hard to get that to happen because it's not supposed to happen. This, you can easily install it. You just don't even actually have to easily encrypt it, which raises some more questions. It says it uses state-of-the-art cryptographic and privacy tools to encrypt your files, emails, and instant messaging. We're going to find that may or may not actually be the case. Now, when we get down here, they talk about some security models, and one of the articles we'll look at in a bit identifies another point that I looked at earlier. He completely misconstrues security and privacy, and a lot of people are into this confusion. So let's take a little bit of time and talk about the difference. Security versus privacy. Security means I want to have a system that everything is as up to date as we can. We have as few little question marks going on the background. In other words, we have taken all of, in scientific research, we might say confounding variables. We're going to remove every confounding variable we can. We're going to use only free and open source software. We're going to use only the software that we've completely explicitly vetted. Okay. And we're going to make sure there's as few things going on in the background. And then we're going to audit each of the connection steps. That's good security. This is why Cubes is very secure, because Cubes uses a isolation threat model base where the only thing having access to the internet is this one little aspect. The only thing having access to USB ports is a little box over here. The only thing having access to, let's say, some other random component is only over here. So a series of isolations is all controlled by one easy to control DOM system, which gives you a very, very, very secure thing. And then Cubes has a disposable running everything through a Tor node, making it also very private, but still not as private as you can get. But you can do very secure, not very private. So that is security. But what is privacy? Privacy means I am not going to be easily identified. And there's people that say there is no privacy once you're on the internet. And I have told you every way under the sun why that's not the case, and the people who just completely insist that once you're connected to the internet there's no privacy, you are just clueless if you think that you just wave the white flag of surrender. Oh, I surrender, there's no privacy. No, there can be. It depends on how you use the internet, what you're doing, and all these different factors. Privacy means you're going to be very hard to track down. Security and privacy are two completely different things. And so as he's talking about security and privacy models, he's misconstruing the two in several ways. Now, he does talk about the best anonymity results, and he talks about the best security results. And even then, he's completely misunderstanding it because he's trying to force everything through VPNs. VPNs are not for security. In fact, VPNs can decrease your security if not used in the proper context. If you are on your own private ISP and you want the best security, you turn off your VPN. Okay? If you are on your ISP and you want the best absolute privacy, you turn on your VPN. And so anytime he's trying to say, oh, just force everything through the VPN, that just makes you more secure, that is complete and utter garbage. And then, of course, look at this threat model. Goes through the VPN into a Tor browser into DNS and decrypt. The Tor browser is really good for privacy. It is really bad for security, okay, because you do not know what's going on. But the problem is if somebody compromises that node and knows something bad is going on, now they have to go through the grand central station of people to find the one midget running through the terminal. You're not going to find him. He's hidden. He's out there. All right. And so that is really some of the instances that we have. And then he gets down here and he'll have a little chart indicating how much better Kodashi is to Tails. Onion circuits, onion share, random MAC generator, RAM wiping, built-in secure web browser, and those they all agree. Now he says built-in VPNs from different providers plus your own if you wish. Well, the thing is that Tails has things talking about how to secure your system with VPNs, indicating it's generally not required. The only reason you would need to use a VPN to connect is if you want to hide from your ISP that you're using Tails, or Tor, I should say. It doesn't necessarily keep you from Tails. It's to make sure your ISP doesn't know you're using Tor. I2P and GNU-net, these are protocols that are like Tor. Yes, Tails does not have these because Tails is not meant to have these because it does break down the privacy model. And Tails is designed for privacy, anonymity. He says here Bitcoin wallet or Electrum and my Monero wallets. Tails does actually have those. This graphic, by the way, has not changed since I did my video 2 years ago. That has changed. DNS script with many other DNS options. No, because Tails actually handles DNS the way it's supposed to be handled. It doesn't try and pipe DNS through all sorts of weird third-party applications that are doing who knows what, because all those third parties is going to lead to DNS leakage. Okay, it leads to DNS leakage. Whereas Tails is routing every bit of your DNS through the Tor network to prevent leakage. So we don't want this. Multi-Tor changers. Okay, that is something Tails does not have any longer. They used to. You can't specify what country you want your exit node come out from. Multi-DNS options, where we covered why that's not important. And then I have no idea what Distro Linux tuner is. And then most of the rest of these, nuke OS or device, they say no. Incorrect. You simply pull the USB drive out of the Tails system. It will immediately go into a shutdown protocol and wipe everything. This is built in to Tails. You can't stop it from Tails. And then everything else is literally just a bunch of software. And again, they have so much software on here, it raises a number of questions. So these are some of those issues to look at. Single point of download on a site with a lot of trackers. Oh, let's not forget the fact that whenever you log into Kodashi, they log your system IP and IP address. Wait, what? That's exactly what happens. I pay monthly to rent the VPS nodes and utilize them for the VPN, which is provided to you. And by the way, it does this check on system boot. It doesn't just check when you try and boot up to the VPN. It does the check on the system boot. I do not collect any data or store any information, logs, that belongs to the users, except the hardware ID and the connected IP address. That has to be sent automatically when your VPN connects and when your PC establishes a connection to the VPN. This information will only be used to ban you from the VPN nodes if you have abused the bandwidth or I receive complaints about hosting torrent files. If this is the case, you will be banned permanently from using Kodashi. And Kodashi is provided anonymous surfing and not for heavy daily files and movie downloads. If you think you have been banned, please send me your hardware ID via Discord. The only way to get a hold of this person is on Discord. And yes, you can use your own VPN and then no hardware ID would be sent to the server. But again, it appears that this is checked on start. And then he talks about, he rotates these things away. So here we have what's supposed to be a privacy type system that sends your hardware ID and IP address to the single user who is administering it. And you can only reach him on Discord. Okay, we've done enough here. It's like, wait, what? Applications installed are not privacy minded. See, this is what Tails has done, is they have removed every application and they audit every application on every release to make sure that there is nothing changes. Unlike things like, Audacity, which leaks a lot of information, it's pre-installed in Kodashi. Isn't that awesome? And as I was doing my research, I actually found this article from a year ago. And this covers literally everything and then a few things I didn't even think of. So I'm going to go through this article here. This is at bitsex.net. How exciting. Kodashi Linux, a brief security review, and hopefully you can find this if you want, written by Vidarlo. And he says, I was recently made aware of Kodashi Linux, which, according to its website, has gotten critical acclaim. This is a superficial attempt to look at the distribution, if it's even fair to call it that. Off the bat, it doesn't start well. So he talks about the confusing documentation, things I already mentioned here, about the confusion between security and anonymity, which we've already discussed. And here he describes this as well, sending traffic through unknown VPNs, and Tor may potentially send your traffic to an attacker. You have no knowledge of the motivations of people running the exit relays, okay? So furthermore, the author openly admits to transferring hardware hash by default. We've already covered that. And then he says it's not what he'd call a distro. The repositories are all simply default Ubuntu repositories. So it's Ubuntu with a theme and some shell scripts to manage extra security features. And there are a few places where he doesn't match licenses right. He does talk about the networking disaster. IVP4 seems to work. IVP6 seems to break apart. It is enabled by default, but no security methods have been attempted to follow it. At least the guide I did the other day on the Raspberry Pi sharing your internet, at least we disabled the VPN, IVP6. I'm not usually warmly in favor of IPv6 this time. Probably makes more sense to disable it totally if your goal is anonymity. It's a risk in this scenario because the tools that work on IPv4 is often unaware of 6. He seems to confuse DNS crypt and VPN. The desktop shows ISP, VPN, DNS crypt, which is unclear. DNS crypt is for ensuring DNS lookups, not network traffic in general. He looks at the software installed, Audacity, which collects data. I don't know much about Remnia. LibreOffice should be safe, but I don't know for sure. It has an open SSH server installed, so you can SSH into this thing by default. GCC, Postfix. Postfix is for email, unencrypted email traffic. It is installed and listening. There is a lot more to it. AVA-HI, this is a software for announcing DNS exchanges, is set up and installed and active. He does talk here about the encryption. This is where he mentions he attempted to get it running on Ubuntu 20.04, but Python depreciation was a hassle. Apparently the reason is because he borrowed a Python script from somebody without giving any credit for it. The script is released on an MIT license, which means that he can use it. He just has to make it aware of it. But he can't get this guy to work. And then, of course, some of the bash scripts he does include tutorials and other things. Basically, he just grabbed a bunch of stuff from, Stack Overflow and made a few modifications to make it work. I think all of these were fixed in the latest version. I think he probably has been made aware of this article, and he went through and removed all these, and he copy and pasted the same header at the top of all of the bash scripts which appear in this folder. But the fact that it was out here until this this gentleman here did the breakdown of it. And so there's a lot. Oh, he even gets, I don't want to show all the article. I want you guys to go and read this article for yourself. Please look up this article. I'll have it linked in the description, because this gives you a really good reason to probably avoid it. I'm not completely dumping on it. I'm just saying that if we're trying to use a Linux distribution and you're being sold that something is amazingly good for privacy and amazingly good for security, Kodashi Linux does not match the check boxes of what should be done for this. First and foremost, it's simply Ubuntu with a few extra scripts installed. That does not make something secure. I know Linux is way better than Mac or Windows, for sure. But Linux Mint is just about as good as Ubuntu as far as that. It's good. It's not so amazingly good that I would trust it over everything for complete privacy when I need to look up that weird word on my finger, But the fact of the matter is you need a whole lot more than a simple Ubuntu install to get something that is secure and private. The Tails team, based on Debian, is an entire group of very, very competent developers in the security sect who make sure the system works exactly as expected. And one of the things that makes Tails, I didn't mention this earlier, but here's the reason Tails is so secure, or so private, I should say. I almost said secure. Why Tails is so private is because, unlike Kodashi, which explicitly transmits your hardware ID, Tails is designed to make every single computer running Tails look identical on the internet. So now let's go back to our midget running through Times Square Station, or Grand Central Station. I said, not only are you small and out of the radar, but you're running through a crowd that everybody is dressed the exact same way. Everybody looks the exact same way. It's literally like finding, if you've seen iRobot, it's literally like finding Sonny in the manufacturing of all the other robots. He looks identical. He has to figure out which one's which by basically figuring out which one's not going to necessarily obey the 3 laws. And that's really what Tails does so well, is it makes itself look like every other Tails instance by matching fingerprints to everything. This is why Cubes is much better at security. It's still really good on the privacy because of the way it implements itself, but it does not match the fingerprint to look like every other Cubes user out there, making Tails the best option for privacy, Cubes the best option for security. So if you are looking for a Linux distribution that is secure and private out of the box, I'm sorry to say Kodashi is not going to be that Linux distribution. Is it horrible? No, I'm not saying it's horrible. In fact, I can think of some good use cases for this. It does a lot of neat things, but it's a single distro developed by a single developer that is nothing more than a few bash scripts, which apparently were made by tutorials off of Stack Overflow and other bash script tutorial places, and put into a distro and called amazing and even better than Tails. And it's not. Tails is put together by a whole competent team. This does not look like it's put together by that. And I think that the author of this last article, who really dug into this and spotted a lot of these things, I mean, which I caught half of these things before reading this article. My opinions did not come from reading this. But there's a lot of concerns that I have with this particular distro. So those are my thoughts on it. I'm going to go ahead and make sure you can also find the link to the other Kodashi video that I did here in the description and on the cards in YouTube, so you can find it over there. With that, though, guys, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.